The King of Pop. You can't get any more iconic than Michael Jackson. I saw him live on his Dangerous World Tour in Wembley Stadium back in 1992 and again in 2006 at the World Music Awards at Earls Court. I love Michael Jackson. I believe all of his albums, made before he died, are masterpieces. His music videos are second to none, and on top of this, I believe he is the world's greatest entertainer. But what does it take to be the height of popularity and build the sheer crazy amount of fame that MJ raised? Let's take a brief look back. In the 70s, MJ was part of the fantastic Jackson 5, and they quickly became huge. To keep the masses happy, a Saturday morning cartoon show was created for the Five Brothers, and eventually in 1976, a live-action version of the same show was released. In the 80s, he worked with George Lucas to create the 3D Walt Disney World experience Captain EO, and soon after worked on the short movie Moonwalker in 1988. Now, before moving on to the 90s, I want to stop here for a bit. If you've never watched Moonwalker, mainly the Smooth Criminal and Speed Demons sections, I highly suggest you do. The animation, storytelling and overall complete weirdness of these two segments are unlike any music videos you have ever seen. Is that a good thing? I'll let you decide. All I'm saying is it's different in a big way. I loved watching them as a kid, and I still do. But if I watch them now with someone that has never seen them before, like say my wife, I get the completely justifiable, what the hell is this? Now, due to not wanting to be destroyed with copyright slaps and ultimately not wanting a strike on my YouTube account, I'm not going to show any clips on here. But what I will do is try and explain what's going on in these two segments. Here we go. Firstly, Speed Demon. So this segment actually follows on from the classic Bad music video, but not the one you've all seen. Instead, for no reason, white Michael Jackson turns into black kid Michael Jackson. He then la-di-das his way through the Bad music video, and when he's finished, he walks through some smoke outside and turns back into white adult Michael Jackson. And it appears that he's on a classic studio recording lot. Then MJ gets spotted by a tour group full of overside-headed fans and paparazzi, who start chasing him around the movie studio, not caring who they kill on the way. MJ very happily runs around with two fat guys on motorbikes taking the lead. He runs around a bit more and hides in the costume department, in which he decides the best form of action to escape will be to dress up as a rabbit and cycle away. The chase continues with the fantastic Speed Demon playing in the background, and MJ is now somehow able to morph into Sylvester Stallone, Tina Turner and Pee Wee Herman. Eventually a Godzilla-sized cop stops the bad guys in their tracks, the sun rises, yes this has been going on all night, and MJ pulls over, takes off his bunny disguise and the bunny comes to life. After a dance-off, MJ then eventually gets a ticket for moonwalking in a no moonwalking zone. The rabbit then turns into a rock, which MJ finds funny. See what I mean about this being weird? Well, now on Smooth Criminal. But before I go ahead, I just want to say that all the allegations against him, I believe to be completely false. He was proven innocent over and over again, and when you look back at the arguments against him, I think it's easy to see what a load of trollop the accuser's arguments was. But that's my opinion. I'm sure you have your own. With that said, watching back the Smooth Criminal section of Moonwalker, MJ really isn't helping himself. And for the record, I just want to say that this is not edited in any way to make MJ look bad, it's just the way the story goes. So, Smooth Criminal starts with three homeless kids looking down at happy MJ walking out of his house, then out of nowhere, he is shot repeatedly with a machine gun by a crew of mobsters. Flashback time. The movie then goes back and you see MJ playing football with the three kids and a dog Skipper. Skipper grabs the ball, runs into the woods, and MJ takes the young girl into the woods to find it. While looking in the woods, they eventually find a mass amount of cobwebs and a big door with a big metal spider on the front. Obviously forgetting their dog searching duties, MJ opens the door and goes inside to find Mr. Big talking about his plans to force feed drugs to kids in Operation Bugs and Drugs. MJ ends up getting spotted, and it's back to present time with MJ getting shot by those mobsters. But what the mobsters wasn't counting on was the fact that Michael Jackson saw a shooting star, and in a split second made a wish to get out of there. The chase is on with the mobsters running around town chasing MJ, who eventually hides down a dark alleyway with no way out. Mr. Big eventually spots him, and they make their way in to take him out. Luckily for MJ, another shooting star passes by, and he uses his magic star to escape by turning into a Lancia Stratos Zero concept car. While this is going on, the three homeless kids go to MJ's hideout, Club 30, a dusty old abandoned creepy gentleman's club, and await for the King of Pop to arrive. He does eventually turn up as a sports car, turns back into Michael Jackson, goes inside, and the club magically turns into a 1930s gangster mob club. Anyway, MJ dances about in what most people will know as the music video for Smooth Criminal. The bad mobsters eventually find him, turn up with intent to kill him, and MJ fires a few shots, runs away and goes to see the homeless kids outside. But the homeless girl is kidnapped with only a spider-covered teddy left behind. This must be the work of Mr. Big. MJ then follows Mr. Big back to his lair and ends up getting surrounded by the bad guy mobsters. As he tries to stop Mr. Big injecting drugs into the neck of the poor homeless girl, Mr. Big eventually kicks Michael Jackson in the gut and it looks like all is lost for MJ. But luckily, another shooting star turns up. So what does he do? MJ turns into a transformer. After smashing up the mobsters, Mr. Big manages to run away into a conveniently placed big laser gun. And Transformer Michael Jackson turns into Spaceship Michael Jackson. Anyway, after a bit of back and forth, MJ shoots a big beam at the big gun, kills Mr. Big and saves the day. Then MJ and the kids all go back to Club 30, get reunited with Skipper, remember the dog that they were missing from the beginning of the movie, so they can all watch Michael Jackson on stage performing the Beatles' Come Together. So yeah, I told you it was weird. Either way, the film was in fact a big hit. And with Nintendo owning the video game market with cutesy characters and games, Sega was aiming for the hard-edged new age 90s gamer, with officially licensed sports games, arcade-style shoot-em-ups, and most obviously speed with its blast processing. So they decided to turn to Moonwalker and turn it into a video game, because you know that's what the kids are into these days. Well, in fact, Sega made 2 Moonwalker games, and US Gold published the other one. So before we get into the Mega Drive, let's look at the 1980s US Gold version, which came out first. As you probably know, almost all movie tie-in games are awful, but in this case, Moonwalker the computer game is actually one of my fonder memories of the CPC. But today, we will be looking at the Amiga version, as it is in my opinion, the best version of the game. Let's just hold up a second. The intro you just saw was actually played in real time on the Amiga, a big deal for the time. Luckily for me, I was actually able to get a few exclusive interviews from the original team that worked on the game from Emerald Software, and one of those people was Claire Scott. One of her jobs was to animate this intro sequence. Even she was amazed at how good it turned out, considering the limited hardware the artists and programmers had to work with. She goes on to explain. We artists had to fight for memory back then. I would want 16 colours, the programmer would want to give me 4, and we'd meet in the middle. It was an interesting setup that way. The other 2 guys I was able to talk to was Jero Carroll, who was another artist animator responsible for the cutscenes within the game, and lead Z80 programmer Damien Scattergood. But before I get into all that, let's talk a little bit about the game. While speaking with Jero Carroll, I asked how the team came up with what the game should be about, considering the movie was all over the place. I remember seeing the film before launch, and we all sat back wondering what the hell we were going to do with that. But we just did it. This was back in the infancy of games really. We were all learning as we went along, not just art-wise but production as well. He then continues, for most of us it was our first jobs, and to be honest, we were winging it. I'd come from a large animation studio called Don Bluth's and started there not really knowing much about games or what made them really playable. I just wanted to draw. I then went to Damien for a follow-up on this.
Hi, my name is Damien Scattergood and I work for Emerald Software, and I was the lead Z80 programmer for the Spectrum and Amstrad versions of the Moonwalker video game. So at the start of the project, one of the things that was new to us was we were all actually required by Michael Jackson's lawyers to sign a non-disclosure agreement or an NDA. So that was a big thing for us. And based on that, they gave us the original script of the film, which was an absolutely amazing thing to have. Imagine actually having in your own hands the original original script for any film, so you were able to read through, and there was like little notes that the guys had written on it as well for us, which was fantastic. And what we did is we got a copy of the actual film as well. So we sat down in the office, everybody came in, so all secure over the weekend, and we got pizza and Coke, watched the entire video from end to end, read through the script, and basically designed the entire game over that weekend as a team. So we wrote down all of our notes and came up with some great ideas based on the film.
So, the game is built up of 4 levels, with every level playing slightly different than the last. And before each level, you are presented with a short animation clip, which very cleverly shows you what part of the film this level is going to be about. Here we have level 1, and as you can see, MJ is currently in the Speed Demons section, running away from fans and paparazzi in an almost Grand Theft Auto style game. Unfortunately though, there are no guns to get rid of the fans, and instead you have to literally run away and dodge them all. While speaking with Damien, I asked him to explain some of the challenges the team was up against while creating the game.
All of the original game was designed and coded up on the Amiga. So if you think of the challenges we had on the Spectrum, they had 10 times more memory than we had. So an Amiga had 512 megabytes of RAM. We had 48, on the average Spectrum. So if you'd imagine, we had to write new code, and we had to compress everything to make sure that we could try and get as much in. And quality was really paramount for Jackson's people, and we were instructed that the graphics had to be absolutely brilliant. So we weren't to cut corners. So there was a lot of skill involved in terms of being able to compress everything and really get everything in, but maintaining the same level of quality for the game.
The aim of the level is to find all the bits needed to complete the bunny outfit from the movie, and then get on your bike and speed demon it to the next level.
Just to show you the quality that we had to deliver on the chase level of the game, there's where you pick up the pieces of the rabbit and it fills in the Michael Jackson image on the right hand side. You'll see that Michael is standing right on the tips of his toes, and that was a classic move that Michael had at the time. Now when we designed our original graphics, he was actually on the balls of his feet, so it wasn't really a great image, and when we sent the betas over to the guys, there was an absolute meltdown in US gold. And they came back to us and said this was a trademark move of Michael's. So we had to basically destroy all of the graphics that we had done. None of them were to ever surface again, and we were to redesign all the graphics. So that was a huge amount of work for us to do. But certainly, it shows in terms of the level of detail that they would focus on for the game.
I found that the music was spot on for the time. Damien explains the process that they had to go through when making the different versions of the game.
So to give you an example of the quality that we expected, if you think of Michael Jackson's music, we knew that his fans would have been listening to the music in the game as well as playing the game, and would have expected the exact same quality of experience, right? So just to give you an example, we looked at the Amiga, the Amstrad, the Spectrum, the PC version, and the music was actually playing differently on all of the machines are slightly different speed. So we actually had a guy fly over from US Gold, and he sat beside me with a stopwatch, and he timed all of my music for every part of the game. And there was one example where one of my pieces was 20 seconds too slow, and he said, no, you're playing it too slow, you need to speed up the music and make sure it was right. So that was the level of detail that we had in terms of getting the quality right for the music and the timing just right. So it was the best product that we physically could actually deliver.
At the end of the level, you are treated to another short cutscene, and stage 2 begins. Similar to the first stage, but this time a tad faster, you are now on your bike going around, this time collecting orbs. These will eventually change you from your bike into the sports car from the Smooth Criminal section of the movie. You need to do this as there are barriers which can only be jumped over if you have the car. Anyway, moving on to level 3, here's another cutscene of Michael Jackson turning up at Club 30 and changing from the car into Michael Jackson, ready for the Smooth Criminal music video section of the movie. This time you see the side-scrolling version of Michael Jackson in his full Smooth Criminal attire, dodging bad guys' bullets. Eventually you grab a gun and shoot the bad guys until you get them all. Quickly moving on to level 4, the final level, you see the mastermind Mr. Big creeping up to the homeless child and her teddy bear outside Club 30. Here you see MJ walk onto the classic battlefield from the end of the Smooth Criminal section, aka Mr. Big's lair. and the aim of this part is to shoot down all the bad guys in this laser that keeps popping up in the top right hand corner. It's really not that hard of a level. You end up seeing Transformer MJ turn into Flying Spaceship MJ, and congratulations, you have finished Moonwalker. Personally, I love this game, and although I never played the Amiga version when I was a lad, I fully suggest picking it up. One of the better movie tie-ins out there. Now on to Sega's version. I first played this game on a Sega bus at a fireworks fair back in the 90s, and when I eventually got the Mega Drive, I also got this game, and my friends down the road with the Master System actually got the Master System version. It's hard to believe that a game like this can actually move systems the same way Uncharted can move PlayStations or Mario can move Nintendos, but although maybe not on that level, it definitely did. But more importantly, it gave Sega that cutting edge they needed to go up against the SNES. How cool is that?
What Nintendo by 16.
This blew me away when I was younger, as I was such a big fan of Moonwalker. Seeing MJ come out, flip his coin into the jukebox, I was blown away. So as you can hear, the game starts straight away with the smooth criminal section of the game, and just look at the way MJ moves. So what's the gameplay like? I suppose the best way of describing it, it almost plays similar to a Shinobi game. Revenge of Shinobi mainly. And what is the game about? Well, MJ's only focus in the whole game is to find the children. And all of these children resemble the main homeless girl from the movie, Katie. The way you do this is by opening doors or behind curtains or in car boots, etc. And once you do it all, you eventually have Bubbles the monkey pointing you towards the end of the stage. Now this time, you'll be fighting off your enemies with signature dance moves, like your kick or your hat, but what is possibly the best of all is the special move, in which you somehow hypnotise all your enemies on the screen to do a dance number with you, which somehow wipes them all out. Incredibly cheesy, but so fun to pull off. And in later levels, a shooting star, just like the one in the movie, can be used to turn MJ into a Transformer style character, for a short amount of time. The game has 5 stages with 3 stages built into each one, similar to the way Sonic 2 works. And you'll be going all the way back through MJ's back catalogue of songs. You have the Smooth Criminal stage from Smooth Criminal, then you have the Street stage for the music video Beat It, then the eerie wooded stage for Thriller, as well as the cavern and enemy hideout from the end of Moonwalker. At the end you see Mr. Big letting you know that you'll never catch him. You get a crazy amount of enemies attack you, and once defeated, you move on to the final stage. Mr. Big gets away in a UFO, and you chase him as Spaceship Michael Jackson. In an almost Star Wars style final stage, and once destroyed, possibly the greatest credit slide ever happens. And that's it. Personally, even though I'm a massive Sega fanboy, I believe the US Gold version trumps this version, as it has the car and rabbit section, which I believe to be one of the best parts of the movie. But what is better than both of these versions combined? Here we have Sega's arcade version of the game.
Moonwalker.
Okay, so who actually believes the game concept and design was done by Michael Jackson? The game was in fact developed by Sega, and the artwork was put forward by Triumph International, who happened to be Michael Jackson's wholly owned merchandise licensing company. Did he get a good look at the game? Maybe. Did he help make the game? I'm not too sure. So we had a top-down side-scrolling and run-and-gun game from Emerald and the US Gold guys, and on the Mega Drive we had an action platformer. And now we have a full-blown isometric style beat-em-up for up to 3 players. Now I hate suggesting that you should emulate games, but this is a game I think you should. You see, the game was released on the Sega System 18 hardware, and what makes the game very, very hard to find is the fact that the hardware included Sega's suicide battery, which is basically a battery that would die after a certain amount of use, rendering the arcade cabinet unplayable. At the end of the day, good games need to be played, and if emulation is the only way to do it, then go ahead and boot up MAME. I honestly think that this game is right up there with the likes of the Simpsons Arcade or Turtles Arcade. Now, back to the game. Firstly, we'll put our fake money in, and with every drop of a coin, you'll be greeted with a fantastically cheesy At the beginning of every level, you're treated to a nice little comic strip, and as the game starts, you hear an almost horror movie-esque scream from Mr. Big, and it's off to kill the bad guys and save the children. Now, instead of fighting with your fists, MJ is fighting with magic powers, similar to Sega's other version of the game. But this time, if you find MJ's pet monkey Bubbles, you actually turn into Transformer Michael Jackson for a short period of time to help destroy all the baddies. Some of which, in fact almost all of which, are made entirely for the game. I don't know if it's just me, but Transformer MJ really does look like Scooter from Alien Storm. I can't get that out of my head. Anyway, you'll find out that round 1 is in fact tiny, a sort of show you how to get used to the game intro level. You then get into the real game, and after you see Mr. Big stealing more children and MJ not happy about it, you get to see a map of the stage. This is so you get a quick glance of where all the children are to be saved. As you can see, MJ is on the streets making his way to Club 30, killing all the bad guys on the way. Now, as I said before, MJ's magic ability is the main form of attack. And what is cool about this is if you hold down the attack, you see MJ do a moonwalk around the stage until you let go to perform a slightly longer ranged magic attack. On top of that, you also get the special move, which just like the Mega Drive version, gets you to do a signature dance move destroying all bad guys on the screen. Anyway, make your way to Club 30, kill more bad guys, and you go up against your first proper boss of the game. Next, round 3 is up, and you find yourself on the streets, but this time at night. Some of the bad guys in the game are seriously creative. Just look at these guys. Surely this wasn't a mistake. Anyway, it's time to go up against Mr. Big, and once defeated, he flies away, very similar to another classic Sega character villain. Next up, round 4. We are in the graveyard stage, themed around Thriller, with zombies joining in with the bad guys. Mr. Big seems to have somehow made a ghost creating machine, and just like last time, zooms away before you get a chance to kill him. Here we have round 5, the Evil Fortress. Here you see we've entered the evil spider lair from the movie. Ah, the classic elevator stage, the hallmark of all good beat 'em ups. Eventually you get to the top, the music changes and Mr. Big is in a big mechanical spider. Here we have the final boss of the game. Eventually you destroy him, you fly over the laser from the movie, his whole lair is destroyed, and you see Mr. Big die with Spaceship MJ flying away. Now, in the movie it was never really explained why he had a big laser randomly built, but thankfully the arcade game explains. It is in fact his deadly doomsday weapon, and that he is no longer a threat to mankind. I suppose if the drug game didn't work for Mr. Big, he could destroy the world or something? Well, either way, MJ saves the day. But where is he now? All that is known is that he was last seen soaring away from the crumbling enemy stronghold, heading towards the distant horizon. And the children he saved? Well, they're smiling because deep down in their hearts they know that Michael will return one day to share with them another wondrous and magical adventure. So there you have it, all 3 Moonwalker games. In my opinion, if you've never played one, the easiest to pick up and play nowadays would probably be the arcade version. For me, there will always be a place in my heart for the often forgotten US Gold version. Damien actually stated in his interview that during production he had no idea that Sega was also working on a game. Can you imagine if that was not the case and how different the 3 games would have been with a bit of friendly competition? As stated in our timeline of Michael Jackson, we stopped in the 80s for Moonwalker. Well, the Sega games have brought us into the 90s, the decade in which Michael Jackson released Dangerous, and what a fantastic album that was. In fact, it's one of my favourite albums of all time. What a great couple of years those were for me. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, I'd recently jumped ship from the Amstrad to the Mega Drive, and my life was taken over by everything Sonic, something I never really grew out of. Anyway, it wasn't long after getting Sonic 1 and 2 that news started spreading of Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, which obviously I eventually got, and they quickly became my all-time favourite game. Little did I know that my favourite musician was actually working with Sega to make this my favourite game. Well, sort of. Only a few people really know for sure. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. You see, Roger Hector of STI explains that MJ was in fact brought in to make music for the game. That much we know. Everything else gets a little hazy. The final product that we got did not have Michael Jackson attached to it in any way, not in the credits or the marketing. But some people do believe, me included, that at least some of the music that ended up in the final version is in fact Michael Jackson's work. Some of the people believe that Michael Jackson left the project due to the Mega Drive sound quality, and others believe that he was dropped by Sega due to the recent paedophilia allegations against him. Who knows for sure? If you want my opinion, I think the two go hand in hand. Michael Jackson wasn't happy with the sound quality, so left the project, possibly wanting to go uncredited so not to ruin his reputation. Sega obviously agreed, and due to the recent paedophilia allegations against him, decided that it worked in their favour. Like I said, who knows for sure? And again, I don't want those pesky YouTube strikes homing in on my YouTube account, so if you want to know more about this subject, I suggest you click here. Ah, what a fantastic console. I loved my Dreamcast, so many great games. Now, even though the Dreamcast was my first way of getting online, I never really knew what to do with the internet back then, maybe except for playing Choo Choo Rocket online. I suppose you could say I was a bit of a lost lamb when the internet was first presented to me. It's not like nowadays, if you want to find out every possible thing about upcoming games, you can. But back then, I was still buying magazines to get hyped up about upcoming games for my systems, using nothing more than just a few screenshots. One of those games I was interested in was Space Channel 5, and it seemed that MJ was too. It is reported that MJ actually approached Sega wanting to be a part of the game, but it was so close to completion he was only able to get a small cameo role. Thankfully for the sequel, he was able to play a much bigger part. This is what is said about him in the first game. Legend has it that he saved the Earth from certain demise by using his dance energy. This was when the planet was attacked by aliens 500 years ago. This sounded like a job for Captain EO. Like I said, I never expected Michael Jackson to turn up in this game, and when he finally did turn up, it was such a big surprise, and his Scream attire really fit the style of the game. Thankfully, it was not only the Space Channel 5 games that he was fond of. Here we have Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. Yet again, reports say that Michael Jackson actually approached the team to be a part of this game.
From Gary, Indiana, wearing the black and white gear with the black fedora, the king of pop, Michael Jackson!
You can't win. The title's mine. Don't you know who you're messing with?
This is yet again such a great game.
Music to my ears. Who's the king?
But unfortunately, this was the last time we saw Michael Jackson on a Sega system, as the next game and currently last game was Michael Jackson The Experience. I'm not going to cover this game too much, as you no doubt get the idea, another rhythm game, which for some reason was all the rage a few years back. It was released on every major system for the time, getting average scores by critics. The only real bit of interest with the game for me is that if you was a naughty boy and decided that you needed this game pirated for your Nintendo DS, Ubisoft, the guys who made the game, actually had an anti-piracy feature that would freeze the game and play Vuvuzelas on loop. And here we are, we've reached the end of Michael Jackson's involvement in video games. So far. You see, at the time of making this video, there was one more game currently being worked on, called Planet Michael, which is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game inspired by the music, videos and life of Michael Jackson. This was supposed to be the ultimate Michael Jackson online game. Martin Bailas, CEO of SEE Virtual Worlds, the guys responsible for making the game, has stated that gameplay will focus on Jackson's dance moves and adhere to his credo of non-violence, a departure from other online multiplayer games such as World of Warcraft. The game will also allow for charitable contributions. Other than that, there's only a few screenshots and videos of the game. It was supposed to come out in 2011 and has no doubt been quietly cancelled. Although I'm not too sure whoever asked for this game in the first place, hopefully one day it will get leaked online and we can finally see what it was all about, you know, just for curiosity's sake. And there you have it. Hopefully this video has given you all some insight into the weird world of Michael Jackson related video games. The crazy thing about it is, most of these games featured in this video are fantastic, and I really do suggest you go out of your way to try some of them. And like I said, if you've never seen Moonwalker, that's probably not the worst place to start. Heck, you can even unwrap a nice Moonwalker chocolate bar to enjoy while watching the film. First of all, a big thanks if you made it this far into the video. Please click any of these links to check out some of my other videos. And if that is still not enough, why not check out rggretrogamegeeks.co.uk, which has become my new home and features all of my videos. A great site with a really good active forum. You can also give feedback there and see sneak peeks of upcoming videos from Slope's Game Room. Also, I just wanted to give a big thanks and shout out to all of the Emerald Software guys. If you wanted to read the full interviews from them, link is in the description. Please rate, comment and subscribe. I'm still very new to YouTube, so please also share with your friends and help me get my YouTube channel a bit more popular. Hopefully my next video won't take so long to make, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.